Donte DiVincenzo already on the way out of Minnesota. The Wolves just acquired him not long ago from the New York Knicks, but now he could be on his way out of town. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to our fast-growing NBA channel. All right, here's the news. This is coming from Brett Siegel of Clutch Points. The Minnesota Timberwolves just acquired Donte DiVincenzo, and head coach Chris Finch is very fond of the combo guard's abilities on both ends of the court, as many people are. Donte DiVincenzo, an excellent two-way player at the guard position. The problem is that his role has fluctuated since arriving in Minnesota, and the Wolves are struggling at 8-7 overall. Amazing what struggling is in the Western Conference, right? Above 500, but they are struggling. Still, expectations certainly higher than that for the Wolves. Should tensions continue to rise, various teams around the league will be monitoring DiVincenzo's availability. At this point, Siegel was talking a little bit about the Warriors and them potentially using unfortunately, D'Anthony Melton, who is lost for the season due to an injury, using his expiring contract as a trade chip. And so that's why the Warriors reference is in here. But he goes on to say this, that DiVincenzo is being viewed as a trade candidate by several contending teams. And the Wolves value DiVincenzo's skill set. The 27-year-old guard was not thrilled with the idea of coming off the bench after being traded. For a second apron team like Minnesota, moving DiVincenzo could help create a little bit of flexibility and a path to moving out of the second apron next season. But right now, there are no indications that they will want to move him. But obviously, as if the situation deteriorates, then he's a guy that teams are keeping an eye on that could be on the move, because not only do teams want him, but he's got an issue apparently with coming off of the bench. He would prefer not to. And frankly, with the Wolves, it's kind of hard for him not to come off the bench, right? Mike Conley is certainly going to start for the time being, unless something should happen there. If he truly falls off the age cliff, maybe he doesn't. But then you've got Anthony Edwards. You've got, I mean, let's face it, McDaniels is absolutely fantastic. Jaden McDaniels is a great wing defender in his own right. And then you've got Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert as their two bigs being used. But take a look at this. If you're Donte DiVincenzo, you can't be too thrilled with this. Here are the Wolves' top two lineups. Top two, best two lineups, and look how good they are. And this is in total, when we put them together, this is a 223 possession sample size. So not a huge sample size, but not small either. And look at this, plus 21.6 and plus 28.5. Now, are these lineups beating up on opposing teams' benches? Perhaps, but still, that is impressive how good they are. In total, the Wolves are plus 2.3 points per 100 possessions better when Donte DiVincenzo is on the court, according to Cleaning the Glass. So if DiVincenzo is annoyed with the fact that he's not starting, well, maybe he's got a bit of a leg to stand on there. But let's say things really do fall apart in Minnesota, and teams, they will be calling. They will be looking to get Donte DiVincenzo. I mean, good Lord, even look at the third most used lineup with DiVincenzo, plus 16.9. They're just flat out better when he's on the floor. But if teams do call for Donte DiVincenzo, which they will, every team out there right now, after seeing what the Celtics did last season, every team wants to stockpile their roster with as many two-way players as they can possibly find. And by two-way players, I don't mean two-way contracts. I mean, they can play offense, they can play defense. Donte DiVincenzo gives you both of those things, give you some offensive punch, and he is a hellacious defender. So what would a deal have to look like for DiVincenzo? Well, as the article noted, the Wolves are a second-tier apron club, which means they can't aggregate salaries in a trade. It means if you want to get Donte DiVincenzo and you're sending back a salary, you look at DiVincenzo right now, almost $5 million this season, which is a very reasonable salary for him. But if you want to aggregate salaries in a trade, let's say it's a combo deal and it is, I don't know, let's just throw a name in. It doesn't matter. Let's say it's DiVincenzo and Mike Conley are going out. So $20 million roughly in outgoing salary, and you want to send back and you want to take on a player that's making $20 million, well, the Wolves can't do that. They can't stack up salaries in a trade. You can't combine DiVincenzo with anyone else. You would have to go out by himself. Now, would teams be willing to pay to get him? Yes, I believe they would. He could potentially fit into and he's not trade eligible until December 2nd, which no big deal. We're quickly approaching that date. But teams could even take him into their unused mid-level exception. Remember, mid-level exceptions can be used this season as a trade exception. So potentially there's something that could be done there. I would imagine teams would be willing to give up first round draft capital. If I'm the Wolves, though, I'm not. I mean, he was reportedly the sticking point in the deal for Karl-Anthony Towns with the Knicks. They wanted Donte DiVincenzo. That's why this story is so shocking. They wanted Donte DiVincenzo badly. He was a big part of the reason why they ultimately gave Towns to the Knicks. They did not want to do the deal unless they were getting Donte DiVincenzo. So I would be surprised if the Wolves do move the 28-year-old, but it makes sense for DiVincenzo to be frustrated. And if the Wolves do continue to struggle, you look at the loaded Western Conference, there's just so much talent in the West. It's so deep. I mean, the Wolves at 8-7, and they're the 10 seed. Technically, you could say they're tied for the 11th seed. I mean, like they're one loss away from being outside of the playoffs, like not even making the play-in even. That's how dangerous the Western Conference is. Any prolonged losing streak can be tough. So you look at Minnesota this season, and if they do continue to struggle, and in particular, if they find issues with the second-tier apron restrictions, maybe moving off of DiVincenzo and clearing some salary that way could be a path forward, though they did clear future salary in the Karl-Anthony Towns trade. But you look at some of their losses. I mean, my goodness, they just lost to the Toronto Raptors. That's not a game they should ever lose. 2 games lost in a row, back-to-back to the Blazers, and by significant margins here. You got crushed 122-108. You lose 106-98. Miami's fine. You lost by a point there. But San Antonio, like the games that the Wolves are dropping right now, 2 losses to Portland. You've got a loss here to Toronto. This is what you're worried about. This is what you're, because these are the games that you need to win. In order to get where you want to go in the Western Conference, you need to win the games you're supposed to win. And I guess it's fair to point out that Donte DiVincenzo was terrible in this game against the Blazers, 1 out of 10 shooting. But still, overall, he's a very, very good player. I wouldn't be eager to move off of him if I am the Minnesota Timberwolves. Again, he's a big part of the reason why they executed the trade they did with the Knicks. No, he's not shot the ball great, 35% from the field, 32% from 3. But you see what he did in an 81-game sample size with the Knicks last season, 44% from the field, 40% from deep. But then he also started 63 games. So if it's just not working out for Donte DiVincenzo, and if it's not working out for the Wolves, if they're not winning games, they're not keeping pace in a very deep and very difficult Western Conference, and DiVincenzo's not happy, well, then maybe that forces the Wolves' hand, and they have to listen to some trade opportunities. Now, again, I think the Wolves are a team that's trying to win right now, so I'm not trading DiVincenzo just to move off of his salary. I think his salary is just fine, and I believe his shooting will bounce back. But if you could maybe add a piece, save a little bit of money, maybe, just maybe, we see the Wolves put Donte DiVincenzo back out there on the trade market. Remember, not trade eligible until December 2nd, but in this NBA season, it appears the trade rumors, they're going to heat up early. And it wouldn't shock me at all if we see some early moves this year, earlier than usual. I'm talking about December trades, perhaps. That kind of activity could take place because, number one, how competitive the playoff races are going to be. But number two, how competitive the tank race is going to be on the other side of things. So make sure you do subscribe right here to the Basketball Bulletin. We're going to keep you up to date on everything going on around what's expected to be a pretty busy NBA trade market. So hit that subscribe button and don't forget to like this video.